zone.
3, 2, 1.
Final Encountercast. Interesting conflicts, not conflicts of interest.
Typical corporate bullshit.
With your hosts, Nate, Robbie, Chris, Mika, and Callie. FinalEncountercast.com.
Ready? Get set? Go!
What's up? Welcome to Final Encountercast. Thanks for joining us today. Twitch.tv/Limit Break Radio, starting at 1 p.m. live on Sundays. If you're listening on the podcast, we invite you to join us live. One of the great things about this show, Nika, stop typing. God damn it. It's
What?
so audible.
How is that so audible? I don't even have a mechanical keyboard. I'm typing so quick.
I even have your microphone lower than it should be.
That's
Anyway.
bullshit.
Anyway.
What should I say?
Welcome to the show. One of the great parts about this show is that we let you interact with the show and call us directly. You can do that by joining us on Skype, Final Encountercast on Skype, 810-207-1764. Very few podcasts give you the ability to call in. So, if there's anything that sparks your interest, you can feel free to give us a call. We'd love to hear from you. Final Encountercast on Skype, 810-207-1764. Kookie is standing by to take your calls. Thank you, Kookie, for your hard work.
I'd like to point out that it's very roomy in here today.
It is.
We left someone at home.
Yeah. Chris decided to stay at home. Although
him?
he decided,
I forget him.
did we forget him? No, we didn't forget him.
Zero Uno was going to ask, where is Chris? But I like what he actually came out as, what is Chris? Because
That's the deeper question.
That's a fair question.
Yeah. So obviously Callie's kind of taking over his responsibilities. You got Skype up there, Callie?
No, I was logged into the wrong one.
Oh.
That's interesting that we need to log into the Limit Break Radio Skype to do Final Encountercast. That's interesting.
You know why? It's because Kookie is on the Final Encountercast one, and she's standing by to take your calls. So if you'd like to join us live here on Final Encountercast, you can do that by sending a Skype message over to Final Encountercast or 810-207-1764. You know what? Fuck it. I guess it doesn't matter that it's a noisy episode. It's going to be a noisy episode because there's a whole island full of very, very fast cars that are making a whole lot of noise. There's
Cool.
like 3 or 4 choppers that are flying around my apartment right now.
And the usual bird mafia outside your window.
That is true too. Oh my God, I didn't realize how loud they were until we started.
No, I love that it's the bird mafia.
The bird mafia.
The god pigeons out there.
Because they're conspiring to ruin the show is what's happening. Anyway, so guys, thank you so much for joining us. If you want to add to this mess and cacophony of noise, then you can join us live. A Final Encountercast on Skype, 810-207-1764. And we hope that you would. There was a bit of a reaction to some of my rants from last week. We also got some feedback on the Checkpoint podcast, which I found kind of funny. But anyway, before we start here, something that I want to remind you guys is that we have been working really, really hard over at checkpointradio.com to grow Checkpoint and to make it the best radio show that we can. We're happy to announce that this week we've been picked up in Colorado Springs, so that's exciting. Also, Tri-Cities is that's down where
Tennessee,
down in Tennessee.
Yep.
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
There was some discussion about what Tri-Cities actually referred to.
Yeah, it wasn't totally clear because there's a lot of places that could be considered Tri-Cities, but that's down in Tennessee. And then we also added a bunch of markets in Canada, including Toronto, Winnipeg. There was another Montreal, yes, Montreal, and Ottawa. So we're happy to be in those markets as well. It's exciting to watch this thing grow and to be a part of how quickly it's growing. Obviously, we're going to be out at E3 it's like less than 2 weeks away now.
Yeah.
We're counting down the days. So as a result, next week we're going to have a bit of a different broadcast broadcast schedule, when you would normally be tuning in at 1 p.m. here on twitch.tv/Limit Break Radio, we're actually not going to be doing Final Encountercast next week. We're going to be doing a bunch of prep work for Checkpoint's E3 presentation. And the nice part about going out to E3 as a part of Checkpoint Radio is that we're also going to be out there, conducting interviews and collecting content to bring back to you and air to you on Final Encountercast as well. Yep. So even though we're not going to be around next week, we're basically going to be doing Limit Break Radio starting at 1 so that we can get out of here and get set up and ready to watch and
process the conferences
and cover the conferences that start that Sunday at, I want to say, what was that, 6?
I think the first one's at 6, which is Microsoft.
Yeah. So we're going to be basically, watching as much as we can from home, and then we leave
6 a.m. on Tuesday.
Yeah, 6 a.m. Tuesday morning to head out to E3, and from there, basically, we're going to wrap up. After we wrap up Limit Break Radio, all of our work and effort is going to be put towards getting Limit Break Radio out as quickly as possible, and then getting everything ready as quickly as possible for Checkpoint's E3 broadcast. Mm-hmm. So we're not going to be live from E3, but we are going to be recording the show from the convention floor. We'll be bringing you all of the interviews that we get to do out at E3 and all of the people that we get to talk to. Obviously, we won't have when we have to record the show on Wednesday night, we won't have absolutely all of the interviews conducted and done. So there will be stuff that we're going to be bringing back for Final Encountercast. And one more thing that I wanted to bring up, and I always feel like I got to mention this, is that the opportunity that we get with Checkpoint Radio is really only because of Final Encountercast, because you guys supported us through Limit Break Radio and gave us the kick in the seat that we needed to launch Final Encountercast, and that gave us the content that then we went and presented to be able to give us the opportunity that is Checkpoint Radio. You are in a direct way responsible for Checkpoint Radio. So and that's all done.
All your fault.
That's all done through your support over at patreon.com/Limit Break Radio. It's the most direct way to be able to help fund the content that you enjoy. And if you want to ensure that Final Encountercast remains every single week, then head on over there. We are well below our $2,000 mark to be able to want to keep Final Encountercast weekly. And the thing is that we want to be able to pay everyone at least some amount for being involved in the show and for producing the show. It's a lot of work that goes into Final Encountercast. A lot more than maybe people realize. They're just like, yeah, you just read the headlines. No, we do a little bit more work than that. So if you want to ensure that Final Encountercast and Limit Break Radio and Checkpoint Radio are given the means to be able to survive at least until Checkpoint Radio starts bringing in some kind of ad revenue, then the best way to do that is over at patreon.com/Limit Break Radio. And obviously we thank everyone, absolutely everyone who's given and supported and helped get maintain the show and this product. It's really awesome, again, to be involved with Checkpoint Radio. And for anyone that thinks, oh man, Checkpoint's easy, I just want to
Checkpoint is the least easy.
I just want to point out here, I kind of want to show you guys just sort of
the outline that we actually do follow.
Yeah, this is an example of Checkpoint Radio outline, and people notice like, oh, you guys do a lot of stuttering. It's a lot of off the cuff on Final Encountercast and on Limit Break Radio. Well, yeah, because a lot of that is impromptu, because it takes a lot of work to script this shit out, man. Like there's a lot that goes into the making of the show, and then you see like the outline conversation here, dude. There's a lot that goes into the production of all of these shows, and if you like it, I would hope that you would at least consider supporting us over at patreon.com/Limit Break Radio. All right, guys, let's check out what's going on in the news.
I'm here to do the news tonight.
And that's the way the news goes.
Ladies and gentlemen, we interrupt this program to bring you important news.
Here's a story that's out of this world.
Well, for those of you who are a fan of the quirky Year 2000 title, there's a new Seaman games in the work.
Seaman.
Oh,
Yes, it sounds like
good.
cum. And how badly did I want to be able to say that?
No, it sounds like semen.
Thank you for that.
Yeah,
You're
there's
welcome.
a little bit of a difference.
Yeah, all right. Well, for those who
Is
were
there-
a fan of the original Baby
Nika
Batter,
would know. She likes dicks.
I do.
We don't have
I've
drops.
had, like,
We don't have drops.
20,000 children.
Yeah, that is also apparently a thing. We don't have drops today, by the way, just so you guys know.
So we'll be doing them all ourselves.
Yeah, that's right. We'll just be referencing them awkwardly all episode.
a picture was released from Ute Saito, the original game's creator, of his development team, all wearing Seaman t-shirts. Prepare for a new era of weirdness. Who remembers the original Seaman?
Oh, definitely. And I hope that they amp up the weird.
Right. Oh my God. Bring
How
it
do
back.
you amp up the weird from there?
I can think of a few ways.
For those who don't know, Seaman was a game on the Dreamcast that basically you took care of a fish thing.
It was a tadpole guy.
Yeah.
With a middle-aged man's face instead.
Yes.
And you talked into the microphone on your Dreamcast to talk to him, and that's how you interacted and got him to continue growing. And if you left for a couple days, he died.
It was a little bit like a Tamagotchi.
Except, warped and weird and
Nightmare-inducing.
really messed up.
Yeah, it was terrifying.
I mean, it was definitely nightmare fuel.
But also,
for sure.
But also a little endearing.
I don't know about that.
He remembered my birthday.
He will remember your birthday, yes.
It was definitely one of the weirder things that came out of Sega. But if you remember when it came out, you couldn't not know about Seaman.
Yeah, well, and just the fact that it was...
I don't know about it.
Well, if you didn't have
Really?
a Dreamcast, you wouldn't have. I didn't know about it until
Wait,
years
wait,
later.
hold on.
What about Nika's one friend who had a Dreamcast? Did you not have that one
It was
friend?
my cousin, and I didn't ever see him back then.
Wait, okay.
It holds true.
It is.
I don't know if you listened to Checkpoint this week. Your cousin had a Dreamcast. Did you know anyone else with a Dreamcast, out of
No.
curiosity? Oh my God. It holds true.
It does.
Everyone has one friend who had a Dreamcast. Just one.
Everyone knows exactly one other person that had a Dreamcast, but that's it. Only one. If you knew two people that had a Dreamcast, then you were marked for Final Destination. You're dead now. You're done.
God.
It's done. Your life has been over. That's how Final Destination
I also
worked.
know one
I just
person who
figured
had a
out the
Sega
entire
Saturn.
crux of the series.
Whoa, you knew someone with a Sega Saturn?
One person.
That's crazy. I knew one person with a Sega Saturn.
I knew someone who had a Sega Master System.
The original?
The original.
Damn.
That had the card slot on the front and everything. I think he had a copy of Altered Beast. Like a weird
Yeah.
it was the not Genesis version of Altered Beast, and it was one of the only halfway decent games that he had.
At my work the other day, we had a functional Atari Jaguar CD come in.
Get the fuck out.
I was convinced those were a myth. I had never I'd seen a couple, but none of them worked, so I assumed they were just fakes. No. We had a functional one come in.
Really?
Yeah, it was crazy, and
it's still
immediately.
it's still red discs and everything.
Because most of the ones you get, they'll boot up and they just have that blank red screen and it never does anything else. No, this one came in and functioned. I played a game on the Jaguar CD, and it's garbage. By the way, just so you know, it's trash. Anyway,
if there was any doubt, I mean, of course it's garbage.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm really curious to see what they could do to Seaman to in the modern era, because it was kind of crazy back in the day for something to be actually dependent on the clock, outside of Pokemon. It was that and Seaman. Those are the only two things where the game clock actually mattered.
And Tamagotchis.
And
Tamagotchis. Yeah. So the fact that it tracked time was kind of interesting.
And you couldn't get around it. If you changed the time, the game would know that you changed the time and it would yell at you.
Yeah.
Monster Hunter Double Cross is officially coming to the Nintendo Switch. The title launched on the 3DS earlier this year, an expansion of what we know over here as Monster Hunter Generations. While we don't yet have a release date, just the confirmation of an upcoming release was enough to push Nintendo stocks to a 9-year high.
That doesn't make sense.
No.
That doesn't make sense.
Why are people that excited about Monster Hunter Double Cross?
No.
It's not even a new one.
I'm not...
I also have one person I know who's obsessed with Monster Hunter.
Well, but Monster Hunter is a fun game. One of the best times, like memories I have with my PSP was actually when me, my friend Matt, and Frank stayed up for like 7 hours one night just playing Monster Hunter, like the three of us. A lot of fun. If there was any reason for me to get a Switch, it would be for Monster Hunter. But I don't know anybody else who would buy Monster Hunter on the Switch. So
yeah, that's the thing is I remember that being a huge selling point of the PSP, and then Nintendo got it, and I was like, does that really still work over on the 3DS? Because I know that the 3DS got one. I know.
Yep. Which me and Chris actually played, and it was okay.
Really?
It was all right. Yeah.
The Monster, it was pretty well received.
Yeah, it's a lot of grinding, so you have to kind of just be into that sort of thing.
Well, I mean, all Monster Hunters are super grindy. Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah.
Square Enix has put out a call to hire new developers for the theoretically upcoming FF7 remake. Early development of the game has been coming from third-party companies such as CyberConnect 2, but now SE wants to bring all development in-house. People are still debating exactly what this means about the game's development.
If you want to hear a full conversation about that, you can hear it on this week's Checkpoint Radio, which you can find over at checkpointradio.com on Tuesday. But, man, I am so concerned about Square Enix as a developer right now.
Really? You haven't just accepted it?
No. I mean, the thing is like, to me, this seems to indicate further problems for a development team that for the last 10 years can't seem to get its shit together.
Months ago, sometime last year, we had pointed out on this show that since they merged with Enix, they haven't actually developed a title that any of us would consider up to par.
Yeah, and I think that's a huge problem.
Yeah, I mean, they put out like a few remakes or whatnot, and obviously they've published some good games, but
Definitely.
as far as development goes, it's all been mediocre at best.
And the thing is that it feels like, they were once a developer that was known for, their insane narratives and the quality of graphics, and it's fallen off, and now I feel like, people are just expecting, another Kingdom Hearts 3 delay, or like, the fact that they keep putting out Kingdom Hearts 2.5, 0.8, 0.7, pi, like fucking is that not its own punchline? Like,
it really is.
Is that not, it becomes almost a fucking parody of itself, and it's like, dude, and they keep going, get ready for Kingdom Hearts. Like, dude, no, this is a MacGuffin, right? It's never gonna happen. It's this. People have an idea of what Kingdom Hearts 3 is, and it's just going to be this idea. Like, it's never going to ever become a real fucking thing.
And here's the problem is you are almost reaching like Duke Nukem Forever point, where no matter what comes out, even if it's good, not to say Duke Nukem Forever it was awful.
Right.
But no matter what comes out, people are going to be expecting more.
Because 10 years in development, you would expect more. Like, Final Fantasy 15 was an okay game.
Yeah.
Was it 10 years in development okay? No. Nothing
is, though. There is no game.
For 10 years in development, that thing should have blown our fucking socks off. Like,
that's the problem, is there is no 10-year development game. No game lives up to that.
Exactly. You
can't.
And the gall of Square Enix that they think that they could. You know what I mean? This is not Square Enix changing their business model. This is not Square Enix like evolving into modern game making, because and the other part of Square Enix that really doesn't sit well with me is how cash grabby they are.
Oh, jeez.
Everything is, they are so steeped in the DLC culture, the pre-order culture,
Cinnabon culture.
I feel like,
sorry, wrong show.
Dude, I feel like as a Square Enix fan that I'm being nickeled and dimed at every turn. And it's frustrating.
We'll probably have more to say about that at 4:00.
I wonder if we will. I think probably we will.
In the news alone at 4:00. Yep.
Well, speaking of Square Enix, they've announced an external development partnership with Polish developer People Can Fly. They're perhaps best known for their title Bulletstorm and are teaming with Square to develop a new high-end original title for PC and console. And this is really maybe more where Square should be, is getting someone else to develop something and handing them a check.
Okay, you know what? And this might be the only hope that I have right now, outside of the collaboration they're doing with Marvel for the Avengers thing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that this isn't just a new title, but, they're like looking at like a new high-end type title. It's like they finally looked and like, oh, guys, we really screwed up Final Fantasy.
What do we do? Pay someone else to make something good. Do that.
Yeah.
Someone who still has ideas.
But that's been their fucking plan. They've been using good games to prop up their bad games. And at like what point do you just say, like, we don't even know what Final Fantasy fans want? Like, I think that's probably what my biggest problem with.
They care. That's
no, and that's the thing, Nika, is that they don't care. Like, they're totally complicit and happy to keep putting out dud after dud of Final Fantasy titles, and almost and claiming that they're going to bet the farm, with that title, and it does okay, but it's not. It doesn't live up to the fucking Final Fantasy name, and when you look backwards, like, that's really the problem. Like, yes, 13 was hugely problematic from a lot of angles. 15 was okay, but it's still kind of problematic. When you look backwards and you look at the lineage that came before it, those games would have been probably fine if you didn't attach the Final Fantasy name to them. And the thing is that they're not living up to the legacy that Hironobu Sakaguchi had set out for them, and really this series feels like it's been without a strong compass at its center since Sakaguchi's departure.
This series feels like
it's since 10 that it's been filled with problems.
It's gotten to that point, like, eventually things need to end. And you either end by saying, you know what, we're going out on top, or you end by fizzling out.
They're fizzling out. Yeah,
that's probably what's going to happen. But like you said, 14 or 13 and 15 were okay games. But as long as they even pull in something of what they see as a profit, it's the same thing that you have with DC movies, right? They're still technically profiting, so we're just going to keep on making them.
Yeah, it's like mediocre is good enough.
Yeah.
And that bothers me because, I think whatever you do, you should be striving for greatness.
There's no legacy in mediocrity.
And not living in mediocrity.
But mediocre is good enough is not an indictment on them. That's an indictment on fans and on people who are buying the games.
That's why 13 is still so popular.
Yeah, exactly. 13 it was seen as okay because it sold like gangbusters.
You're
That's
not
an indictment
wrong.
on us.
You're not wrong. But the thing is that you wear that thin. Like, there's only so much of that Square Enix is able to maintain before they're going to start seeing diminishing returns.
Definitely. But again, that will be on us to make sure those diminishing returns happen. If you keep supporting it, it's what you will continue to get.
Exactly. But I mean, like, now we hear all these delays with the Final Fantasy VII remake. They're already talking about doing a remake of 8 or 6 or there's tons of rumors.
There are rumors of 8. Yeah.
There are tons of rumors flying around about all different manner of titles and remakes that they could be working on.
Well, they better give that to Nomura too, because he knows what he's doing.
Yeah. What? He knows how. I think he knows how to delay a project, and that's about it.
Yeah, I just realized I don't actually have to worry about an FF8 remake. I won't have to deal with that until 2035. That's a problem for future Callie.
maybe Nomura is like me, and he's like, an FF7 remake shouldn't happen, and that's what he's working on. It never happened.
He's playing the long con.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I feel bad for the people who really, really, still look to Square Enix as this beacon of quality, because I just, at some point, I think that, the infatuation, the honeymoon period, it's going to run dry. Like that fandom runs dry, and when it runs dry, then that's when, as a company, you're really fucked.
Well, and that's where we go back to a lot of the things that they've served as publishers for have been good, and maybe the time is getting real close where SE needs to look at that and say, maybe this is what we're better at. Maybe we don't have that creative drive we once had.
Maybe. How about this? Here's a crazy thought. Okay, Square Enix has had a Final Fantasy title, a game with the Final Fantasy franchise in development perpetually for 25 years. I mean, like, it seems like they're always working on it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
I don't think there's ever been a time where there wasn't one being worked on.
Why not give yourself a little bit of distance from the franchise, and so you can reconnect with what your audience wants. You can experiment, maybe start a new IP, try something new, see if it works. See if it works. And then maybe take the lessons that you learn and apply it to Final Fantasy in a couple of years when you feel like you've got a better understanding of what the people who are paying you money want from you. Just, it's a novel thought. Novel thought.
I like it. I could do with a 10-year break.
I mean, just... I think... And again, it's not just giving the fans a break. It's giving the developers a break.
Yeah.
Because, we cannot hear about it for 10 years and whatever. And by the time we hear about it, all the nostalgia is all worked up into a frenzy. Okay? But they need some distance. Like, far more than the audience needs distance. Right?
Well, we had the thing with one of the developers who said that what they had of the FF7, the trailer demo they got, didn't have the Final Fantasy feel to it. And it's like, well, what is the Final Fantasy feel?
At this point,
can you qualify what it is, Square Enix?
Do
fans know what it is anymore?
No.
And I'm not sure that anyone does.
I don't think
there is that thing of like when you play it and it's there when you play it, but I don't know. Can you even qualify that anymore? I'm not sure I can. I could have in 2000.
I mean, I'm almost willing to bet money that Square Enix is going to announce 16 out at E3.
Oh no!
I mean, maybe if not a full.
I'm actually surprised they haven't announced it already.
The fact that they've been mum about the next Final Fantasy game makes me think that they're gearing up for an announcement at E3, and I don't think that it's going to be a full-fledged trailer. I don't know that we'll even see any characters or any
logo art.
That's basically what.
Reveal.
Yeah, we're gonna get the logo reveal, and it's gonna be in development. Who fucking cares at this point? You know what I mean? Like, what PSP title did you take from in development and now throw onto the fucking PlayStation 4, Square Enix? Like, quit shoehorning your development projects and maybe set out from the start to make a fucking Final Fantasy game that feels like a Final Fantasy game, if you can even, like Robbie had said, qualify what that is anymore. I don't know that I can. I don't know that I can. But I mean, like, 15 just did not capture my imagination like other Final Fantasy games have, and I just don't think, like, ever since 10, it's been on shaky ground. You know what I mean? Like, 10 was the last one where I think people walked away from it going like, yeah, that was a Final Fantasy game, and that was
Even I disagree even with that. I walked away from 10 disappointed. Originally, like going back later, I appreciated it more, but when I first played 10, I didn't like it.
Okay, see, I don't think that necessarily means anything, because I felt the same way about 9 the first time I played it, and outside of the bias that I have towards 7, 9 is actually, I think, the best Final Fantasy.
I actually think that there is a journey that a lot of people go on where the first time they play a game and they beat it and they see the ending and they don't like it, like, a lot of times the things, like the endings that I initially disliked, end up becoming my favorite endings because I end up, my perspective on them either changes with time, or I end up thinking about them so much and like trying to fit the pieces together so hard afterwards that it sticks with me. And it's like FF8's ending did that, because it's like it's sort of like End of Evangelion. Like, you couldn't, if you tried to tell another person what happened, you'd sound like a rambling madman.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
And then the robot crucifix decided to penetrate the vagina eye that had come out of the earth. Like, you sound like a fucking crazy person when you actually try to describe what the fuck is happening on the screen, but you end up thinking about it, and I think through that persistent meditation is where you arrive at a deeper meaning, or you arrive at some kind of understanding, and that is something that I actually really appreciate about a TV show or a video game or a movie that's able to do that to me.
Yeah, and you and I have actually gone back and forth before on the idea of that might have been a problem with 12, because I know we're both looking forward to the Zodiac Age to get a chance to try and play it again. But look, I played 13 3 or 4 times, still haven't made it to the end. That one is not one of those games.
No, I don't think anyone's going to go back and play 13 later and be like, oh, you know what? I missed a lot of the nuance.
Yeah,
No,
that's exactly it. Is that it's most Final Fantasy games, they get better with age, right? Like there is even 6, 7. Like you end up coming back to it, and it is like a good book. You end up like with a different appreciation for a different level of the narrative that you missed out on the first time that you watched it. And I just don't think that is present with 13. I don't know that it's present with 15 because I'm still not finished with it, and the thing is that I'm so exasperated I can't
bring yourself to even continue on with it.
I finished it, but I can't get myself to go back and do the DLC, even though I hear it's good. Like, I've heard like the Gladiolus DLC is supposed to be really good, but
It's fun.
Yeah, I can't figure out why should I go back and play it again?
Because it's fun.
Cup noodle, man. Cup noodle.
I mean, is it in the back of your head for like maybe I'll do it when all of them are out? I mean, did you?
Yeah, maybe that's
Did you get the season pass?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so
maybe once they're all out, I'll just like crank through them all.
Yeah, so you own it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe I'll just crank through them when they're all out.
See, I think that's what I'm kind of waiting for.
They're not even connected.
No, but here's the thing, Nika.
Like, they're connected to the game, but not to each other. So
No. But I mean, like,
it's easier to go back when they're all out and play through them all than to go play the first one and be like, oh, you know what? No, that did kind of suck. Now you're definitely not going to go play the other ones.
See, I don't think I got...
But it doesn't suck, so...
Well, hang on, Nika. So I don't think I even got far enough to even get to any of the points where the DLC would happen. And so I feel like, okay, if I'm stalled out right now and I just wait until all of the content is there, do you, in your opinion, because you played through it and then went back and did the DLC, if I played it after everything was there, do you think I would get a more complete experience?
No, you still wouldn't. Well, I mean, you still wouldn't play them until after you beat the game. So, because like they're not gonna like insert it into the game. It's not like the only thing that they already have the extra chapter 13 stuff released. And my sister actually got to that point, and it actually asks you, do you want to follow this character or this character? And you click one, and when you get to the end, you click the other person, and that's already in the game as of now. So that complete experience is already there. The Gladio, Prompto, and Ignis DLCs are something totally separate that you would still play after you finish the game.
Oh, really? So you couldn't do like when Gladio actually like separates from the group.
Yeah, because that's what I thought.
No, because the DLC is like all the guys are sitting around the campfire and they're like, "Oh, hey, so what really did happen when you pieced out?" And he's like, "Okay, let me tell you." And then you flash back. And
so it's more like
I don't like that at all. I don't like that at all. Just like do it in a flashback.
Well, it's what they did with The Last of Us DLC, where you find out what happens to or how Ellie gets infected or whatever. Basically,
I mean, I don't know.
And like it didn't. I don't know. Gladio's DLC didn't. I mean, his reason for leaving really made zero sense in the first place. Like, I really feel like they had a whole bunch of DLC planned for Prompto and Ignis, and they're like, "Shit, we need something for Gladio. Let's make him leave for a chapter." And then so they just like threw his.
You know what? I'm gonna give them this.
It was still really fun.
At least they gave us something to actually play instead of just more anime episodes.
Especially because it's a different gameplay entirely too. Like Gladio's gameplay is totally different than Nox's gameplay, and like Prompto's is gonna be very different. So. I don't know. I still think that the point of while you're playing the game is that you're following Noctis, and so some of it is kind of jarring because you're like, I have no idea what's going on in other parts of the world because Noctis doesn't know.
You said they actually changed like the gameplay too, so it's like mini game episodes.
No, it's just that Gladio doesn't play like Noctis. He has a different weapon. He has different skills. He has different it's not the same. You don't fly around like Noctis does. He has his big sword, and he has like different ways you activate the skills and all that kind of stuff.
Well, because Noctis can use all the different weapons too. So I mean,
right? But Noctis is usually the one telling other people to do the skills. You are now in control of Gladio. You're not going to sit around and wait for Noctis to tell you to do something. Like it's a different gameplay, and it's really fun.
I like that idea.
I don't see. I think I do. I think I like as neat as it would be like if they inserted it in like while you were playing through the story at the same time, then I would feel like, oh, they really just took chunks out of the game and set them aside as DLC. I kind of like the idea later on that like, yeah, they're talking about it, figuring out what happened. It's like, you were gone for a while. What was that all about? Like,
Yeah, and they already kind of see that still with Chapter 13. Like, you get to this point, the characters split up, and you're like, do you want to follow Noctis or do you want to follow Gladio? Choose one. And you can actually choose, and then once you get to the end, then you can do the other one. Now, that I didn't know because I went back and played it afterwards, but my sister just played through it and said that it lets you choose there. So it still even has that element of it in Chapter 13. But the extra DLC, they are called episode Gladiolus. Episode.
Yeah, no, I
episode. So it's like about those specific characters, and it's their own like separate game almost.
I do kind of agree with what Tom Berrien in the chat is saying, though. Like, I liked teleporting around as Noctis. Like, that's what like made that combat system fun. I don't want to give that up.
But it's for an.
I know for a DLC, like I get it.
For a DLC about a completely different character, and the gameplay is fun. Like I've played it, and they even have a score attack mode where then you can go back through the entire DLC again in super fast mode without the story cutscenes and stuff, and just try to get through as many enemies as you can within the time limit for a score.
All right, I kind of dig that.
And if you get enough points, you get an outfit for Gladio where he's shirtless.
Oh, of course. All right.
It's a lot of fun. So anyone
after you've already beat the game.
Yeah, right.
Cool.
Even after they already had to double production, Nintendo continues to have to increase production on the Switch. With demand on the system not dropping off, Nintendo has had to once again increase production so as not to be left in short supply around the holiday season. They acknowledge that Super Mario Odyssey launching with no systems available in stock would be a major black eye.
You don't say.
You think so, Nintendo?
Well, I mean, at least they've figured out their business model that far.
Yeah, that's good.
I guess the thing that I would be interested in, right? Because I don't know, it seems to happen with Nintendo products more than it does with obviously Sony or Microsoft. But their initial, shipments that they put out, how many were there, right? Because if they're, we've talked before about how they, they create their own supply and demand, right? Don't put out enough stuff so that it drives the demand way up.
Oh, yeah.
Then when you are doubling or tripling your output, you're going to make headlines that way, right? But had you put out enough to begin with to help satisfy that demand...
Their artificial scarcity that Nintendo is almost infamous for at this point. Yeah.
I don't know if I really even care so much about this headline,
I get it. I'm a strong believer in the artificial scarcity, though. Yeah. You don't want a situation where you're sitting on a ton of extra systems.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know.
All systems do this though. Like I remember when the PS4 first came out, it was so hard to get one.
Oh yeah.
Like, this should happen. I mean, me and Saren stocked Target because we had like so many gift cards. We called every single day for like a month until they finally one day had like 2, and we had to rush out there and get one. Like that's how much they would get in their shipments. They'd get 2 here, 2 there.
Yeah.
I mean, the companies just. They do that.
I mean, I know it's a pretty common thing when it comes to a system releasing, but at the same time, though, I feel like Nintendo does it to almost an extreme degree. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like they got burned on the Wii U, and they're not letting that happen again.
Yeah.
I mean, that's true too.
And the thing is if they were being conservative with the number of units manufactured because they needed to hedge their bets, I understand that. That's actually a company move that I get. But it also does seem to be like, I don't know. There's that tinfoil hat part of me that wants to go, but you end up driving your cost up a lot, or
doing multiple print runs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and you're right. It does drive headlines to make more.
Yeah, if you actually aim low like that, then it's like look, we've doubled our production now. Well, duh.
Yeah. Well, I think it does speak that the demand on the Switch isn't dropping off like some people predicted that it would.
That's true.
Uzbekistan has banned a number of games from their country, citing everything from propagation of concepts like violence and pornography to threatening stability and security. The 34 titles include some obvious suspects like Grand Theft Auto 5, but also some strange ones like The Sims.
Ah,
The Sims?
Because you make whoopee.
You do have sex.
What?
No,
you woohoo.
You have whoopee.
I had forgotten.
You woohoo.
So
I haven't played a Sims game since Sims 1, and I'll admit I logged a lot of time in Sims 1.
I think I got the Sims 3 and I played it once. Like I played one entire family from like children through death, and I was like, okay, all done. Don't need to do it anymore.
Can you still put your sim in a swimming pool and then take the ladder out?
Problem. I'm sure you can.
You still allowed to murder your Sims that way?
Okay, Uzbekistan, sure.
Murder simulator.
You do that. Does this ever work? Does banning media from your country ever fucking work.
I'm pretty sure that just makes people want it more. And
Yeah.
so they pirate it and they sell it illegally. And
There's this little thing called the internet, and I know Uzbekistan, you probably think you have all of the lockdowns on that too, but what the fuck, man? Like, this is...
I'll admit, I admittedly don't know very much about Uzbekistan. I don't know what their like punishments are like for doing things that are wrong.
Well, shame on you, Callie. You should do your fucking research.
Yeah, I know.
You should know everything about Uzbekistan if we're going to mention it on the show.
Yeah, we put you behind the news desk for a reason.
That's right.
Sorry, let me bring up their GDP. We can have a discussion about it. I just know that in Australia, even though things get banned, like it doesn't generally stop people from getting the games. I'm just saying in Uzbekistan, can you get like shot for that? I don't know.
I have a friend in the UK. She just goes to secondhand shops that import the games anyway.
Yeah,
so she doesn't have to order them off the internet.
I mean, Uzbekistan is not the UK, but
true,
I'm just...
True.
Staffordshire University has become the first United Kingdom university to offer an esports program. The 3-year program will begin this school year and focuses on the business side of esports. The program functions like a hybrid of game design and event planning.
Now, that I think is really interesting, that it's focusing on the business side of esports.
Right, and I think I'm so glad that they still require you to take a good bit of the game design track to do that, because it would be so easy just to treat esports like a straight up business program, and you can't.
Yeah, well, I mean, in radio, all the time it feels like you're being pulled between, the creative and the business. The salespeople upstairs who want to, just make sure that the engine keeps running, and then the people who are on the air that just want to, entertain the people at home. And so there's this interesting dichotomy that ends up taking shape. And I think, it is starting to, that same sort of dichotomy is starting to take shape in esports as well, where, you've got the people who, drive the talent end and are the reason that people tune in. But behind that, you need to have a really well-structured infrastructure to be able to support it, to be able to promote it, to be able to fund it, to be able to make sure that that engine drives. And the fact that, this is like the first academic program that is doing that, I think that's fantastic.
And I think it really shows the other half of the equation. For so long, esports has been lauded for their grassroots development. Everything has just been fan-driven and whatnot. But eventually you do get to a point where you need to have someone who understands things like event planning and the business side of things to be able to come in and run these tournaments. Otherwise, your tournaments end up being a mess like we've seen so many times. So I think this is really cool that like Staffordshire is trying to appeal to a growing need.
Absolutely. And that was one of the things that I think we recognized in our pursuit of Checkpoint Radio is, we knew that we wanted to try to get video game discussion on the radio and try to, reach out to a wider media market. And we also knew that we were really good in terms of the creative side, that, we can make a 2-hour, 3-hour program, no problem. That's not the issue. We have the means and the infrastructure to be able to do that. What we found that we were not very good at was the business side of things. The Patreon, again, thank you everyone for your support, but we did not really predict how much work that was going to end up being and how much we were going to have to do, how much upkeep that was going to have to be moving forward. And that was a really big surprise, trying to, find advertisers. And then if we found advertisers, holding them to, payment and things like that, like, dude, the business end of this shit is kind of complicated, or maybe, I don't know, maybe for other people it's really easy, but for my brain, very complicated, and I'm not very good at it. So we knew that we had to bring in people that knew more of the business and knew more of the monetization, and to be able to help us make this into into something that generates money. And because people think like, oh well, you just want to, you're just money grubbing. Well, we criticize game development companies and other places as even other gaming media sources as being money grubbing or greedy, and it's hard to have that criticism and then be like, yeah, but give us your money too.
Hey, no, that's not fair, because like we criticize people like SC when they do shit like that because they charge $60 for their game and then do money grubbing stuff on top of it. We don't charge for our shows. If we charged for every episode that we put out, yeah, having a Patreon would be real shitty on top of that.
Yeah, if there was a paywall for our content, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think the fact that, like you said, we don't really know how to handle the business side, so we can't be money grubbing. It's too much work.
Well,
we are far lazier than we are greedy.
And the thing is that the real, like, when we started Limit Break Radio in 2006, like, we were definitely much more drinking the Kool-Aid of, like, podcasts are going to be the future, and we're going to people are going to want to invest in us when they hear how much talent we have.
What flavor Kool-Aid was that?
Bullshit.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And so, like, when the money didn't just fall out of the sky, we found that it was really hard to keep the same people involved, and that's why you heard a lot of the things that held back the 11 show when it did. And so when we stopped doing Limit Break Radio and got some distance, Square-Enix, that's a little bit of a hint for you. When we stopped doing Limit Break Radio and got a little bit of a distance from the product, we were able to figure out, okay, we need to be concerned with both our health and wealth of the show. The way to keep the same people involved is to pay them for their talent. This is work. Mm-hmm. Stop thinking of this
and not
as
a little bit of work.
It's not. Yeah, and it's exactly. And we got to stop thinking of this as a hobby and just a thing that we do for the love of it, and start thinking of it as a business. And we have to have income to be able to drive that engine. And so that's the realistic part about any YouTube channel or any podcast or anything that you hear, that, well, at the heart of it, enthusiasm may be the thing that drives the whole thing. You've got to, if you want to ensure the quality of that product, you've got to have some kind of money. Like, there's got to be something that keeps people there, that keeps them investing their work and time and effort into the project. And people who think like, oh, it's just gonna come from somewhere. No, it doesn't. You have to go out and you have to be proactive. You have to approach people. You've got to approach companies. I'm a fucking introvert. I don't like eye contact. I don't do well introducing myself to people. I'm fucking. You come up to me and introduce yourself to me all day. I'll be a nice guy. I'm not. I swear to God, I'm not a dick. But like, when it comes to like me putting myself out there and introducing myself to other people, I fucking hate it. I hate it. I don't do networking very well. You know what I mean? And so we needed to bring in people who knew what the fuck they were doing.
Yeah. Long and short of it, I mean, it's a miracle that when we met, you walked into my room without even knocking.
Yeah.
You rude ass.
That's true. There was a different guy back then.
And he heard what music? Windows theme?
No, I was in the Crawler's Nest.
Crawler's
no,
Nest.
that is bullshit.
There's no music in there. How would you have heard that?
I thought you saw my screen.
Oh, okay.
No, I did see your screen. You were climbing Paladimo Tor.
Oh, that's right. Out in the chasm, right?
Yep.
Man, you know what 14 needs? An equivalent of that. Just something that's completely out of the blue and random. I like it.
14 needs a lot more than that.
True. A software developer named Mike Roberts has launched what might be the next great Twitch plays, using the Robinhood app, which allows for stocks to be bought and sold, as well as $50,000 of his own money. He's letting Twitch play the stock market. Every 5-minute window while the stock market is open, the Twitch chat can call out what they want stock to be bought or sold in. At the end of 5 minutes, the results are tallied and the winning action happens. If the investment portfolio drops below $25,000, the game is over.
Wow. How have we gone from Pokemon to the stock market?
So
this is amazing.
He's basically like, I'm going to let you guys make me money because I don't want to have to decide things.
He is literally crowdsourcing the stock market. And he's like, they asked, like, so what are you going to do with the money? He's like, I'm going to keep it. It's my money.
Going into my fucking pocket, genius.
Yeah.
Yo, where's your altruism? Who gives a fuck about altruism? I put $50,000 on the line.
Yeah, that could have easily been gone.
I mean,
there's still time.
I mean, he could waste $25,000 of it.
It's ridiculous. Right now, at the end of, I believe this started last week. Right now, the Twitch stream is down because the stock market's closed for the weekend. He's up $700 though. So I mean, his cash reserves are down to like 9,000. The rest of it is invested in stock.
Not bad.
But nevertheless, yeah, he's hanging in there.
That's pretty impressive, I gotta say.
This is fascinating. Like when you go over to the Twitch stream and actually watch it, like who'd have thought watching the stock market could ever be fun? But just the fact that like random people are doing this?
Yeah, how much are they, like, how much of an effort is trying to be coordinated? Because usually when you see something like this, you end up seeing these, like, factions end up forming. You know what I mean?
That was the coolest thing about Twitch Plays Pokemon.
Or the bet. When we did the bet, we even had, we had, like, Team Palindrome and, like...
There was definitely a little bit of a faction that formed for, like, people wanting to buy Microsoft stock versus Sony stock. Like, that was going on, and yeah.
Wow.
No, the factions are starting to pop up. It's only a weekend, so we still got a ways to go. But
It's an interesting idea, but I don't know. I like it. I'm maybe I'll check it out.
Would you gamble $25,000 of your own money?
Fuck that! Are you shitting me? What kind? Like, I want to know who Mr. Moneybags is. That's putting the
software developer. What do they get paid?
You Mr. Jackpots? Like, what the fuck? What the fuck is going on here? Did you win? Did you win a like 29 mega jackpots in a row? Like, what the fuck?
I was gonna say, just throwing like 50 grand out there, that you have to have fuck you money at that point. Like money you can just throw at someone to say, you know what, fuck you.
Yeah, and I mean, you can lose, like, he can lose all of it over time. It was the 25,000 was like one. Like, you can only lose so much like of your portfolio in a week before it's against FC or regulations. So he could eventually lose it all if he chooses to keep going after they lose 25,000 of it. I wouldn't.
No, I would definitely cut your losses at that point. Who cares how many people are watching?
The question is, how much money is he going to make off doing this? Like on donations and like stuff like that to the channel.
Who's donating?
Is he subbed?
Why?
Does he have a,
why the fuck would anyone? Why would you donate to this? Are you like? That's the definite. Like, remember a couple of weeks ago when or maybe it was last week when I said, look, the Twitch bubble is going to pop eventually. This is emblematic of it, right? Like,
did people donate to Twitch Plays Pokemon? I think he made a good bit of money off that.
He did because I'm pretty sure that because it went on for so long, he did multiple games. I could have swore that channel got a partner button.
I wouldn't be surprised, but I mean, like, it's the fucking stock market. Like,
yeah, but this
I don't understand.
This involves you gambling with someone else's money at the same time.
I can understand Twitch Plays Pokemon taking donations. I cannot understand. I mean, I'm sure they're there. I just don't understand the psychology that you have to be like, I'm going to give this guy $5.
He has 50,000 plus 700. He needs 5 more.
He doesn't even have a fucking webcam. Like, he's just like, it's a bot. It's a fucking bot. It's like the people who donate to Oslov. Like, why?
What kind of emotes would he give you?
I don't know. I'm not, and I'm not trying, dude. I'm not trying to talk, dude. I'm not trying to talk shit on other people's YouTube channels. At least Oslov will fucking play Pokemon every once in a while. Or I think every day. I think
he's giving shinies.
And multiple times we have stated how pissed off we are that like Oslov is just way better at us than this.
Well, I mean,
he makes so much money off that.
He does, and with the chat bot that accrues points and shit like that, like. I get it.
And this is one thing he has talked about adding, and is like people who like make the most money with their like requests and stuff like that would like win prizes and shit.
Okay, I see that I could see, but still, why the fuck would you give him like $5 to like? I don't understand the fucking psychology of it. I don't. I'm sorry. I don't know that I ever will.
After a decade of playing the game, Sebastian Brengen has finally finished his theme park in Roller Coaster Tycoon. After completing all in-game objectives, he decided...
Wait, we're talking about Roller Coaster Tycoon.
I know.
There was a newish one I downloaded a while back.
Well, this is
in 2017.
Yeah. This I know I kind of had the same thought. He decided to actually fill in the entire 256 by 256 map in a game where every tile has to be laid individually. The resulting odyssey of 64,516 tiles took 10 years because if the park ever falls below a certain rating threshold, it closes. So you not only like you can't just like put down like 10,000 bathrooms. Your park has to actually not suck.
It has to be functional.
It has to work and be functional.
10 years later, bro. Now what?
Now what do you do?
Like, where do you go from
Wait, so
here?
what was his goal again?
What do you
To
do
put
with
something
it?
on every tile?
Yeah,
what was his
a roller coaster
ultimate goal?
tycoon map back then is 256 by 256, so about 64,000 tiles. He wanted to fill it out entirely. It's like the people who used to do like that in SimCity 1. You'd fill that, like try to fill the entire map, and no one ever made it like more than halfway.
Yeah, because you would
your
hit
city
a natural
falls apart.
You'd hit a natural disaster and the whole thing just fucking collapses.
Oh my god!
Or at some point you realize I'm just playing Sim City. I'm gonna go do something else.
Yeah, that I think is actually probably. I would hope that kicks in before
you make it to 64,000 tiles.
Right.
Yeah.
Like what does he do with this now? What game does he go on to? Something he's been doing for 10 years is finished now.
I think a new roller coaster tycoon came out.
But it's not like he can like
There is.
It has
sell
512 by
this
512
anywhere or like, take this to competition. I mean, what does he do with it?
go to meetings. I don't know.
Okay, there you go.
Drink
Yeah.
heavily, probably.
Find a support group. I really have no idea. I mean, to what end? To what end would you do this?
Well, it kind of brings...
It's like having the perfect Tamagotchi. Like, okay,
The perfect Seaman.
great. Congratulations. What does that even mean?
I mean, even when it comes to playing games, like when we play a single player game, you don't spend 10 years on a single player game. The closest you have in it is an MMO, and that's constantly evolving, and you're progressing somewhere, constantly. But this is just like...
This might be a checkpoint topic. What is the most pointless thing you've ever put way too much time into? I think we all probably have one.
Not on this level.
No, I'm not saying it has to be like this, but this could be the story that lets us talk about that. What is your most pointless thing you ever put way too much time into?
Yeah.
I've got a couple.
I do too.
Okay.
I do
Almost
too.
everything I do is pointless, and I put way too much time into it.
Yeah,
so.
Nika, we know.
Like my ex-girlfriend who used to put way too much time and effort into her Skyrim house.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no.
That was
You can waste a
real
lot of
thing.
time in Morrowind. Infinity Fox is listening to you guys probably. Art. Fair enough.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
Okay, all right. I'm gonna give that to you, Infinity Fox. Listening to you guys, probably.
Yeah.
You just read the exact same Chad comment that he did.
Oh, did I?
Yes.
Oh, well, it shows how much I pay attention to Callie.
Dumb shit.
Thanks for that. A few months ago, we reported on how disappointing Nintendo's upcoming streaming service seemed. For those who don't remember, the idea was you'd get a game, yes, a single game, each month, and at the end of the month, it went away to be replaced by another. The idea was pretty much universally panned, especially by us, and in a shocking move, Nintendo actually listened and redesigned the system. The service now actually has its price point released at $20 a month, and games in the library can be played forever. At launch, the service will have NES games, and Super NES games are under consideration for the second batch to be added in. While we still have tons of unanswered questions, it's surprising to see Nintendo change course on something like this.
Smart.
They listened.
Smart.
Nintendo never listens.
Yeah, no.
They don't care what we say.
Yeah. No, this is like one of the very first times that I could think of that Nintendo has ever changed course in for the better. You know what I mean?
And
Like,
changed course before launch.
Yeah.
They've said like, oh, maybe this isn't a good idea.
Yeah.
They're not waiting for like the dollar signs to be the proof of it.
That's true.
Oh my God.
And this is a good decision too. Like
Yes.
that's a service that I could see investing in on a monthly basis.
Yeah, if it's something, if I can have the entire NES library available to me, that'd be sweet.
You know it's not going to be the
No, of
entire
course
thing.
not. But it's eventually it'll be probably sizable. I don't need the entire NES library. There's a lot of garbage in there.
I mean, it does.
I don't need to play Fester's Quest again.
It does seem like a step up from even something like PlayStation Plus.
Oh yeah.
That like it rotates titles. I think it rotates 3 titles a month. But anything that you download or purchase while it's free just stays with you. Like as long as you have PlayStation Plus, you get to keep all of those games.
Yeah, when I was on
But
years
this
ago,
seems even like even another step towards just like, pay and you get access to everything.
Yeah, which is nice because even when I was on Xbox Gold or whatever the Xbox version was, I would always make sure to log on every month just to download whatever the title is. That way, you just have them just in case.
I'm being corrected in the chat that the price point is $20 a year, not a month.
gonna
And
say
if that's $20 a year, that's awesome.
That's what I was looking up because I'm pretty sure that sounded wrong, but let me double check.
Okay,
first.
yeah, 20 a
year
for that. That's
Yes.
awesome.
Yep. There is a monthly.
That's bananas.
There is a monthly and a 3-month price that you can pay, but if it's 20 a year, why would you?
Not just do that?
Because
Yeah.
it's like if you do it monthly, I think it's $4.
That's Wow, Nintendo's just giving that shit away.
That's great.
And at this point, like, so now you're covering, you're covering your back catalog. You're covering, what is it? Back support, fucking backwards compatibility.
Yep.
There it is. You've got backwards compatibility for your oldest titles.
Yep.
Now I would just love to hear a little bit more about like this GameCube.
I like a little more
service.
on that.
Yeah,
Definitely.
Like to hear something about that.
If they're doing 20 a year for this, then like now you can justifiably, when you go ahead and like shut down an emulator or a ROM thing or something like that, like you can justifiably do that now when you say, no, you have access to these games. Don't try to argue you can't play the games any other way.
Well, and for $20?
But the thing is that, if you're going to take your cues from the music industry, and I think that they should, because the music industry had a very, very long, painful lesson to learn. A lot of people lost a lot of money in the interim. And what they learned is that you don't need to sue things like Napster out of existence. What you need to do is give people a more stable and more reliable and affordable alternative, and they'll just spend the 99 cents to download it off your platform, rather than be bothered to find the bullshit, find the software that they need to download it, and then find the file that they need to download. And at some point there's diminishing returns on doing it through through the illegal route, or at least there is now. Like, there've been enough. Maybe not when it was Napster, but...
Well, at the time of Napster, a lot of that was also driven by, like...
You were still...
No bullshit. People wanted to steal it. But people just didn't want to go out and buy CDs either at that point. Like, that, the age of the MP3 was coming at that point.
There was a refusal to adopt. And it was really driven more by the technology side of the MP3 and the compression sounding acceptable, as opposed to, and it's really genuinely wanting to steal from an artist or steal from, a record company.
Yeah.
I mean, there were people that eventually, like, once the lawsuits went out for people that were downloading stuff, and once you had the whole Lars Ulrich thing, then people really did go, no, fuck you, I'm going to steal this album because I feel like you're a dickweed, and
I'm going to steal this album because it's System of a Down and you titled it that.
Or the Suicide Machines, they did the same thing. So if video games want to take a cue from that the best thing, and especially because, and MP3s, really all you had to do was you had to download one file, you ran that file, and as long as you had something like Winamp, it ran. Yep. Right? With games, it's a little bit more complicated, because if you're going to pirate it, you've got to go through basically everything that you've got to go through for software cracking. Yeah, it's almost the same process, and you open your system up to the potential for spyware or viruses. And so I think that even video games have a better opportunity to bring people over to the legit market side, and they have a bigger market. Like, they didn't lose as much of their core demographic as the music industry did to things like Napster or Kazaa or Kazaa.
Oh man! I had Kazaa
or LimeWire, or I mean, like, there were so many of them. You know what I mean?
One that had something to do with teddy bears. I feel like.
What? What?
No, there was. My friend had one that had like teddy bear in the name.
What are you talking about?
It was like LimeWire, but it was called something else.
Bearwire.
Won't know it. Come on.
Bearwire.
Teddy bear pirates.
I have no idea what the fuck you're talking about.
Speaking of bears,
Bear Share. See, Ghostpoke. Bear Share. That's it.
Bear Share.
Bear for an icon. Yes, it's totally a real thing.
Oh my
Thank
God.
you, Ghostpoke.
Bear Share. No, but I mean, like, but again, the barrier to entry for taking music is far lower than the barrier for entry for taking a game. And again, you didn't see the market fall off like the music industry did. The music industry saw a lot of their fans just fall off and start looking to alternative methods and looking towards people who weren't even on their record label to entertain them. Mm-hmm. And if video games want, if the video game industry wants to avoid that same sort of constriction, that same sort of retraction of their audience, doing this, being proactive and making sure that services like this are affordable is one of the best ways to do that.
A streamer by the name of Disguised Toast decided to do a free-to-play challenge in Hearthstone, meaning he makes a fresh account and without spending a dime tries to climb as high as possible. In addition, he didn't disenchant any cards to use he didn't disenchant any cards or use the arena to get some specific power cards. Instead, he threw together a budget mid-range hunter deck and got to work. 189 games and a 67% win rate later, he had climbed all the way to legend rank without a single epic or legendary card in his deck.
And he did this in like 2 or 3 weeks is like the time limit he set for himself. Yeah.
Can I just... I think that this is pretty indicative of the fact that Blizzard has made a very balanced game between their financial model and the actual game itself.
Yeah, there's a lot of discussion going around about this because prior to something like this happening, that was one of the big criticisms about the game is that at this point, it's so difficult for new people to get into and you have to sink so much money into it and the metagame is so insane with the way that it's going. There's also people talking about, stagnation, blah, 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 blah. And then this guy pulls something like this out, and it's just like, it really does come down to the core concept that we've been saying for years now. Get good.
Well, or that your payment model shouldn't have that big of an impact on your gameplay. You know what I mean? Like, if you can still, if someone can come along and subvert the need for the payment model and still succeed, then you have kind of proven beyond, pretty objectively, beyond any kind of question, this game is not a pay-to-win game.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest issues that this is, or conversations that this has started, because specifically he did it with Mid-Range Hunter, which has been a pretty viable deck for a while now, is that Blizzard should look into making it so, or finding a way to basically give each of the classes some type of long-term viability besides just the Hunter in this way.
And that's the thing, is like apparently the Hunter is the only one that you could possibly do it with those restrictions on you. Like, no other class would be able to make that happen.
Interesting.
And that, like, because a lot of people do these free-to-play challenges, but they'll be able to go into the arena and get a couple cards that way, or they'll disenchant stuff to make it the legendary they need to make their deck run or something like that. This guy was like, no, we're not doing any of that. It's literally what I have as my starting cards. And I think you get 1 pack when you start, right?
Yeah.
So, like, literally I'm playing it on that.
Wow. That's pretty impressive.
Oh, yeah. EA has announced their E3 stream on June 10th will show a massive 40-person battle on Naboo. 20 on 20 is one of the upcoming game's modes, and this one will take place in the capital of Naboo, Theed. Darth Maul and Rey will both appear as heroes, but the demonstration will also show off some of the vehicles that will be available.
That's cool.
I think it's weird that Rey is in it.
Yes. I mean, at the same time, though, it's a Battlefront game, so
it doesn't matter.
You have characters showing up all over the place. I remember, what was it? The Battlefront 1 had Palpatine down on Hoth.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Why
you're even questioning that at all is beyond me. But no, I think that this is going to be cool. I think 20 on 20 is a really tough game type to balance for, though, because there is so much chaos, and you have to design maps that are big enough to be able to support that. And I'm going to be really curious how how EA ends up trying to show this off to an E3 audience, especially if it's a live 20 on 20. You've got so many variables in there.
Yeah.
I feel like at least some of it is going to have to be somewhat scripted or rehearsed to some degree. So
at the same time, like, 20 on 20 is what has always sold me on games like Battlefront, is the massive amount of players on each team.
That is true.
Like, it sucks when there's like, can you imagine what Battlefront would be like if it was 4 on 4?
Oh yeah, no.
It'd be boring.
No. I mean, because the core of it is Battlefield, and Battlefield is really good at those, far more so than Call of Duty ever was.
Oh, yeah.
Call of Duty was always really good at, more of a squad-based. This is, Battlefield was always just more like, dude, there's so many vehicles and people.
Battlefield can do up to like 100 in some games.
I think it can, yeah. They've been doing those huge battle or game types for a long time.
Yeah. Niantic's Vice President of Strategic Partnerships, Matthew DeFayette, said in an interview last week that both Legendaries and PvP would be coming to the game this summer. He confirmed that these features were originally going to come sooner, but the overwhelming success of the game actually delayed the process a bit.
How?
Because I'm assuming...
How?
Because I'm assuming month number 1 and 2 went to stabilizing the game. I'm assuming that's what that means. Because think about the first 2 months of that game. It was nothing but patching and fixing. He confirmed, or saying that was something they absolutely could not get wrong. He confirmed the features would be coming this summer, in addition to making team choice more meaningful.
I'd like team choice to be a little bit more meaningful, but I'm not really sure. Like what direction do you take that in, unless the gyms that you control or stuff like that actually does something. Imagine if like you control a red gym in like 10-mile radius or whatever around that. Imagine if Pokemon spawned on gyms the way that they do on Pokestops, but only for your team.
Oh,
that would be cool.
Oh my God, yeah. If you have the bulk of the gyms in the area, then you have a chance for your legendary element to spawn.
Well, not even because legendaries are just like events. So not even during events, but just like as a wide range thing, Or for example, gyms could have a higher chance of rare Pokemon spawning around it. That would give you way more incentive to actually capture and want to hold gyms.
That's true.
And you can do more than just like sit there. Oh, I'm just battling. As you're like defending the gym or waiting, if you get sick of battling, you can back out and see what's popped and actually start, catching stuff. It gives you a reason to hang around gyms. Like do that, Niantic. Do that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I do notice that there are a lot of force spawns around gyms already.
There are.
Oh, yeah.
So they can just use that.
And that's the thing is that, if that was based on who controlled the gym, because they already know, we already know that they can, separate out who sees what. Right, like that shadow ban that they were doing, you
proves that.
Yeah, yeah, it proves that.
Plus, that it's like shiny for some people and not others. That kind of stuff. Like it's easily client side stuff.
Well, and again, like if you can throw your player base into a certain category where they can't see specific Pokemon, then that tells me you just use the teams as the
indicator.
category. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's such a clever idea. I love it. I want this now. I can't wait for summertime to get here.
Yeah. Like right now where I live, it's kind of backwatery, but we have 2 gyms somewhat near, and they're blue, and there's no reason to go get them. But if like extra rare Pokemon had a chance to spawn around them, because I don't see rare stuff where I'm at, I'd go out there and I'd spend a hour and a half that would take to knock those pussies out.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, that's the thing is that I'm really not playing Pokemon Go at all anymore because I feel like why? Like what's the point? Mm-hmm. I would have like gyms if they were fun, maybe I'd do them. But at this point, I've pretty much caught most everything. I'm done. And
what do you have left to catch?
Or
just
what
Tyranitar and
Tyranitar, and then finish off the Flaffy line
and Ampharos.
Yeah,
okay.
Imagine if it was coded into it that if you own the gym, you see these rare Pokemon, and they have like a 15% chance to have better IVs or something like that. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
People would hold on to gyms.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this is all before we even discuss the other half of what he said's coming this summer, PvP.
Yeah.
See, I don't understand how they think they're going to do PvP unless they change the battle style.
I want 4 moves.
Well, and specifically, he actually specifically said, we know we have to get this right.
Right.
Do ya?
Do you?
I mean, it's cool. All right, it's cool that you can actually, come to that conclusion, but do you actually know what's right?
I actually had a thought. Maybe it's not Niantic who was trying to push a specific play type or battle type. Maybe it was Nintendo that went, we don't want to give people a reason to not buy Pokemon games and for this to supersede the Pokemon games. So, we've got to do something.
Influence do you think they had in it?
I don't know. I have no fucking clue.
I already saw someone had mocked up an idea for how to do 4 moves, and it was just like, your base move is what it is, your first move is a third of a bar, your second move is a half bar, and your third move is a full bar, and you basically spend however much bar you want.
Yeah, it seems easy. It seems like an easy concept if you wanted to do it.
I don't know. I think it would be really fun to have like decent PvP, and I just want a fucking legendary. Just one goddamn legendary.
I still don't understand how they think that the net code would work. You know, like that's the thing that I don't get is like you can't regulate an environment. So you have to do a connection environment, right? Like when if I wanted to PvP you, what's your cell phone network?
T-Mobile.
T-Mobile. All right, I have Verizon. Right, we have different connection strengths while we're sitting right here. Like we can be 5 feet from each other and have very different connection strengths. And if you hit a lag spike, I get that advantage.
Right? How does that?
How does that work?
Oh,
right. Okay, so that's why I think you push the battle system off into the gyms at first, right? Because that's a way where you have a normalized connection environment,
right?
Where you're now, it only depends on one connection to the server, and even given that, how many times have you been battling a gym and you're like, nothing's happening? You know, like you're calling for that charge move and it's not coming.
Or they do the charge move before they say they do it, so you don't even have time to dodge it.
Oh, that is infuriating. Like, especially if it's like something like Hyper Beam, where it's like there's so much time to dodge that move. How badly did I just lag?
Yes, exactly. And especially because dodging is a mechanic, it seems like that's a very difficult thing to do. So to me, the answer would be to slow down the gameplay. To do that, you're going back towards
the traditional model.
Exactly.
And we know that works. That's the thing. I mean, look, the fact that if you go to a GameStop, that older Pokemon games still cost just as much as like newer ones do, it sells and it stays relevant. So people love it. Why would you go away from a model that you absolutely know works?
Yeah, I don't understand. And it's frustrating too.
And again, we also don't know what kind of model they're doing. We have no idea what PvP is going to look like.
No, but I mean, like, when you look at, like, why are gyms so stagnant? Why do gyms not change hands ever? That's why, because it's not a fun process.
And there's no reward.
By the way, I hate you guys where your gyms never change hands. My city's still a fucking war ground. I have not held a gym for more than 8 hours.
But the one in my neighborhood has been a level 10 instinct gym for like 5 months.
You should be ashamed.
I know. I just need someone else other than just me to take it down. It'll take me forever to do it by myself.
That's the thing is, I've got the instinct gym over here, and I don't care.
If I had like, I mean, it's in my neighborhood, and it really is stupid that I could be benefiting off of this, but like, I don't want to sit out there for an hour by myself and whittle it down. I need some friends, and nobody else I know is really playing it.
Man, no gym in my city ever gets over level 5 before it gets knocked down.
Really?
I have not seen a level, like, I had the one instinct gym that was level 10 with like 8 blissies in it for a while, and it got knocked down, and that gym has not gone over like level 3. Like, everyone's like, no, that's not happening again.
Anything that is, you know, like, that I drive past on a regular basis, it's just locked. It's like whoever lives there and is able to sit on the gym just keeps it on lock. Like the gym near my house, someone has easier access to that shit than I do, because I've gone and taken it down, and within 30 seconds it's back to fucking instinct. Yeah, like I'm not even back to my fucking apartment and it's already instinct. And I'm just like, why the fuck?
Somebody's got to like live within range of reaching it.
That's what I'm thinking, and that I think is a pain in the dick. You know what I mean? The people who just sit there and they're just they can do it from their fucking couch.
There was a Mystic gym in Troy that was straight up a level 10 gym with one Pokemon in it. This guy had put his Pokemon in and trained it up to a level 10 gym from there. I'm like, you madman. And I threw my unknown in there to be a smart ass. Yeah, 58 CP unknown in a gym. That's great.
Earlier on, that was actually one of the ways to get the gyms up high, is if you owned a 10 CP horsey from before they did some change, and
you needed a 20 CP horsey and a 10 CP Diglett.
That's what it was. Yeah, with some legacy move, because Chris actually has it. You were able to put the horsey in there and then train it with your Diglett and basically one-shot it, and it would skyrocket.
Yeah, because Bubble takes it has to know Bubble and Scratch, because Bubble takes longer to use than Scratch does, and Scratch would take it out fast enough that you could, and it would just build it like crazy.
Yeah. So like we had Facebook groups where people were going around doing that and then being like, guys, level 10 gym here, go put your pokes in.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
Nobody does that anymore because nobody gives a shit about gyms.
Yeah, well, nobody. Not to mention, even if you wanted to train a gym up, if you go to like a level 2 gym, like, all right, let's train this. Use like a Snorlax and a Blissey, even though that's your gym, you're gonna be like, fuck that.
I have that happen a lot. Where I'll have a level 2 gym that I can put a Pokemon in. Like, if I put my Blissey in there, no one's training that gym. Yeah. So I have to put something crappy in.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
So anyway, for more information on the news and other stories, you can contact us, and we'll give you Nika's personal contact information at your leisure.
There you go.
Wait, what?
Yeah,
that's not even funny.
You're responsible for telling people where to go to find more information now.
Google.
You can say that.
Good job.
It's an option, but we're going to send them to you first.
Okay.
Anyway. All right. Well, I think Joe.
I can just keep going. It's fine.
Callie, you might as well.
You want to just
Wait, you forgot the most important news. That Tekken came out on Friday.
Tekken did come out on Friday. I got to play it.
It's the most important. I've been doing nothing but play it all day yesterday.
I'm really mad at Tekken because it has not one but 2 bears in it and still no boxing kangaroo.
Boo.
Yeah, there's a lot of actual characters that are missing that are staples of the series. So it'll be interesting to see if they add them later or what they're going to do.
Wasn't that PETA's doing?
That's what people say that was PETA's doing. I don't know if it actually was. It's where there's 2 bears in the game. There's a panda and a non-panda.
And a grizzly bear.
That
would be the non.
I didn't know if it was a grizzly or a brown bear. I wasn't gonna guess.
Bears as just being non-pandas. Like that's.
Well, I didn't know if it was a grizzly or a brown bear. It could have been either.
It's not wrong.
It's non-panda. That's what I do know.
It's not wrong.
But yes, Tekken 7 did come out. I got to play a little bit of it. It's fine. It's like Tekken. Is it just me, or is Tekken the only fighter that you can play like where button mashing is the most legit strategy?
It is not legit at all, actually. And if you button mash in Tekken, you have lost all cool points with me.
I button mash in pretty much every fighter, so don't worry.
Who cares about their Nika cool points? Anyone?
No.
Escalia should.
Actually, I think Escalia should be concerned with all the cool points. Like, any cool points that he can get, he's going to need. You know what I mean? Like, he better hang on to all those motherfuckers like, they're going out of style.
Cool point conversion rates just aren't what they were before. I'm going to go ahead and sell those on my Twitch Plays cool market stocks.
That almost worked.
Almost worked, and then I stuttered. Nate, how's that feel?
Nice try. Don't you put this off on Nate.
Yeah.
You fucked this up.
That's right.
Anyway.
I you know what? I've figured out how to stutter through a goddamn joke and still get the fucking punchline right.
I'll have to learn from you.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, major esports news broke this week as Riot has announced the new format for League of Legends in the future. Will be starting in the 2018 season. They are officially moving to the franchise model, which is something that we've seen that Overwatch is going to. We know the LCK for League of Legends is doing this, but this is the North American LCS is making the move, and they are emulating the NFL. Like, what they are doing, like, it screams NFL to me. The buy-in price is going to be at $10 million.
Oh, that's so big. I don't know if endemic sports teams can handle that.
Well, unlike Overwatch, League of Legends has proven its staying power, and no, teams are not really up in arms about the $10 million price point.
I mean, it makes, $10 million for League of Legends, which has proven itself as the largest esport, whereas Overwatch is coming in as the new dog on the yard. Like, come on, dude. Like, The ask of $10 million per team makes sense for League of Legends. They've established their real estate. All that Overwatch brings to the table is, yes, it does have a sizable playing audience at the moment, but all it's got is the Blizzard name.
But even then, like, Overwatch has 30 million, League's got 100 million. So.
Exactly. So, and what was the buy-in price for Overwatch teams? It was something like 20?
Between 10 and 20. We don't know exactly where.
Yeah, it hasn't been confirmed, so it could be the exact same thing.
Quite a fucking difference, isn't it?
Well, it could be.
It could be.
When the largest esport values their teams at $10 million, that's going to push the price down for Overwatch. I don't give a shit what the what the circumstance is. I think that brings Overwatch asking price between 5 and 10 high side. 10, maybe 9 high side. Keep it in single digits.
Well, one of the things
you can look at it at 10 still on the idea of like this is an investment like League as big as it is probably about as big as it's going to be, whereas Overwatch, we don't know what its upper ceiling is going to look like yet.
Well,
you can probably still argue it, but
one of the things that I'm interested in too is at least the way that it was mentioned with Overwatch in the earlier days of theorizing it was that depending on where you want to buy your franchise could also include the price. So like for League, is it just a flat?
It's a flat $10 million for League. Yep, it's a flat $10 million.
And that does make a little bit more sense. And again, Overwatch and Blizzard is trying to drive a much more regional system. But I mean, when we talk about trying to drive a regional system, that's what this move is also designed to do for League, right? Like
well, the 10 teams who do end up being in the League, I'm sure they will put down roots somewhere,
right? And they'll get attached to a city, and hopefully, I think if you don't just see just long-term esports organizations investing, and I think you're going to see a multitude of people investing in this, including cities themselves like Vegas, like DC, that have been trying to attract an esports audience. I think that this screams an opportunity for them to get in on the ground floor and bring the most popular esport to their city.
My guess would be that we'll see TSM, CLG, Cloud9, and maybe Phoenix. They'll all apply and do their own team. The other 6 teams currently in the NALCS will probably band together in some form to maybe make a couple more teams, and then the remaining 4 spots will probably end up going to people from outside of current League of Legends.
Now you said
would be my guess anyway.
This is for the North American League. You said there was one other league that was planning on doing this.
LCK is starting it this season.
Okay,
currently, and League of Legends starts it in 2018 for the spring.
So
for North America.
So have any organizations outside of esports, maybe more traditional sports organizations, expressed any interest in the wake of this move in getting in?
Not yet. Basically, this news broke at the end of last week, and applications are still being taken. No one is guaranteed a spot. Unlike LCK, where it's the 10 people who were in the league at that point would be going on.
Right.
No one is guaranteed a spot in LCS. Every team who wants a spot has to apply.
It's a hard buy-in.
It is a hard buy-in, and your application also requires you to lay out what your business model is for both growth of your team, interaction with fans, developing players, and all that. You have to have a full business plan ready before you're even considered.
So is Riot overseeing all of this as well?
Yes, Riot is overseeing this.
So they're the arbiter?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Basically, this all came out of 20 teams from North America and Europe last year, jointly sent a letter to Riot expressing frustrations with the current model. They wanted relegation to be put to bed, and this was the result of it. And a couple cool things are coming out of this. Every player in the league from now on will be guaranteed a minimum base salary of $75,000.
That's fantastic.
Awesome.
That's great.
That's awesome, but also ridiculous when you think about it.
Yeah. No, I don't think that is ridiculous.
No, not at all.
When you talk.
When I just think about how much I put into college and I make not nearly that much.
But that's athletics.
Okay,
that's pro athletics,
right? And that's
I know.
Yeah, that's the thing is that when we kind of sit around and go, oh well, shit. Like if I knew that I could make that kind of money off a Street Fighter, I would have been trying at this way earlier.
Yeah, but even trying doesn't guarantee anything.
Right. Like in reality, I think what you have to look at this as a comparison to is other sports. Yeah.
Yes.
And when you look at the pay scale for professional athletes, $75,000 is actually fairly low side.
Yeah. Well, and this is what's important. I say $75,000 is the minimum base because it's $75,000 or 35% of the league's revenue per person, whichever is higher. So, for instance, if the league makes $20 million with 50 active players, your base salary is $140,000.
Wow.
Yeah. So it is if the league is profitable, your base salary goes up. Guaranteed.
Holy
That's
shit.
great.
In addition,
In
addition, a players association will be formed and all teams will have representation on it. Players on each team vote who they want representing their interests in league matters, and players will also have a legal and financial advice provided for them to help them on their career path through this.
Wow. I mean, that's just giving that's giving the resources to these athletes that they've needed for a long time.
Yeah. It's not just a matter of, let's put relegation to bed and do it this way. This is changing everything.
This sets the standard. I think this sets the standard for a world-class league that is set out to take care of the athletes that have invested their time into the game. And I think, what Riot may be a little bit more aware of that other developers aren't as keen to or aren't as woke to is that these esports athletes have a real choice, right? You don't have to go League of Legends to be a successful esports athlete, right? Like, if you're going to devote your time to one game and one game exclusively, you have to realize that you're in competition. From the perspective of Riot, you're in competition with Valve and Counter-Strike. You're in competition with every other MOBA that's out there and every other MOBA development. You're in a competition for talent.
Yep.
Think of it. Think of it like if you need an analog, right? If you're having a tough time wrapping your head around that, if you need an analog, think of it like the Monday Night Wars for wrestling, right? Where there was a war going on between WWF and WCW for talent.
Yeah, this is before one was bought by the other, and it was just a staged war. There was actually
a real like bidding war.
Yep.
And the people's careers were made and broke.
Yep.
By this bidding war. And so I think that you're gonna see something, kind of similar here, where at some point, all of these developers are going to realize that they're in competition with one another for who is investing their time where.
Yep.
And Riot, I think, has just made a really big head start in going, devote your time here, because this is what you can get out of it. It's a tangible reward. It's a tangible thing that anyone, even a third party like objective observer, can look at that and go, yep, that's pretty clear that anyone who's playing at even a high skill level is brought into the fold, is protected with a salary, is given the is
as
given
a players association.
Yes, is given the tools and the opportunities and the resources that they need to be successful in their career path. This is brilliant.
Yeah,
this is fucking brilliant.
If I'm a Dota or a Smite player and I read this, guess what game I'm thinking about switching to?
League. Absolutely. Well, in addition,
totally.
With the franchise model, relegation is now, of course, going away, so a bad season won't cost your team its spot anymore. However, that raised a bunch of concerns of teams that might try bottom feeding, which is keeping a dirt cheap roster and still being able to make money even in last place.
Right.
And they've addressed that. They have said teams that are found to be bottom feeding will face mounting consequences. Teams will be subject to an investigation and possibly lose their right to compete if they finish in 9th or 10th 5 times over an 8-split span. So if you are consistently performing at the bottom, that's not saying you will, but if you are consistently performing badly, you are at least subject to an investigation so that Riot can make sure that you are acting.
You just really have shitty players and you're not doing
exactly that you're acting in competitive interest. You're not just purposefully keeping a cheap roster.
Yeah, because who wants to watch that?
Exactly.
Who wants, and that's the thing, is that Riot has now got to balance the interests of its players, the interests of the people who are making the investments to make these teams, and at the end of the day, they've also got to have the audience's interest at heart too, and make a game that's, by the way, balanced and fun for anyone to download and play today if you want to. That's a lot of responsibility on one developer, and I can understand a lot of these other developers that don't want to end up investing themselves that much into areas of the business that they don't know. But what Riot, I think, really does have in their pocket, and to me, this decision speaks volumes that they know that they have this, is that they have they've got this competitive scene and this wealth of talent surrounding their game that they want to keep there, and to be able to do that, you've got to give a reason. It's just like I was saying for the show, I got to give you guys a reason to keep showing up, and so I got to pay you.
Yeah.
And even though it's not a lot, and I apologize for that, we make do with what we have, and again, I think that Riot has really got a lot of resources at its disposal. They have been doing very, very well on the competitive scene. They've got all of this goodwill. Keep doing that. And this is a decision that, again, speaks to the community, right? Like this is something that to me says, well, they have interests that are not their bottom line at heart. There's some other driving factors behind, well, what are we going to make off of this?
Well, but I think there is an element of, Riot openly says, no, we're not really focusing on developing any new games. League of Legends is their game.
Right.
It is what they do, and they want it to have a lasting impact in the world of esports. They want it to, it's a legacy thing almost. How will people look back and remember League of Legends? And I think it's really exciting. I think it's a gutsy call on their part. Like, it shows a ton of faith, but when you've sold out your world championships 4 years running and you've got 100,000 people on average watching on Twitch, you feel confident making that move.
Yeah, you can make those ballsy moves because you don't have as far to fall.
You know, I've never actually kind of looked at it that way. Like, I never really thought, like, hey, what else does Riot do? They basically, you know, in the world of esports, it's like they invented football, and now they just have to make sure that it goes smoothly.
Now all of their development focus goes onto League of Legends.
Yeah,
be it on a balance side or a new content side, whatever.
That's
all
smart.
goes towards
I think, and especially the position that they're in, I think that's smart for them, because if you started, dividing yourself between, trying to develop, let's say, what if Riot started trying to make an MMO, like, you know what I mean? Like, it would divide their attention too much,
right,
to be able to execute things like, like administering or being the arbiter for a league. That would be impossible.
Yeah, I'd like to address some from the chat really quick. PC Dongles, in regards to us mentioning that, people who play other MOBAs might want to move to League of Legends, says it doesn't work that way. Several Halo pros attempted to move to Call of Duty for a while because of the low revenue and spectators during the Halo 4 season, but they fell flat. This is an entirely different situation, okay? This isn't just, our season is kind of in the off thing right now, so I'm going to go somewhere else to try and, keep up my revenue. League of Legends is flat out saying if you join a team, win or lose, you're getting at least $75,000 a year.
Right.
I mean, he's not terribly wrong. Like, it is rare for people to jump from game to game, except when a new game comes out. But
it's not impossible.
It's not impossible. And if the cookie is there,
that's the thing. This is probably the biggest incentive that has ever been given for a situation like that to happen.
And PC Dongles is, an important distinction that I want to make here. That's someone who, was trying to do a different game in their downtime or in their off time or in their off season while still remaining connected to the original game that they play. What we're talking about is more like a 75 for 75 grand a year, right?
Win or lose.
You're talking about, that is a good enough incentive to, if you were playing Counter-Strike Go every fucking day, to be like, well, I'm going to be playing League of Legends every day. You're taking an anecdotal situation where someone is, trying to develop two skills at once, whereas we're talking about someone who sees this, puts a pin in whatever they were doing, and devotes themselves to League of Legends. Now, it may take a year, it may take 5 years, but if they work hard enough, they could see a return on that. They could, and anyone who is young enough to be able to, and again, you're talking about really, really young folks who are really sharpening their skills at whatever game they want to choose. And previous to this, I think the majority of that decision has been whatever jives with whatever you want to play. Like it's been subjective, right? Like, it's been up to the person's taste. Like, I really like Street Fighter, and they get really good at Street Fighter because they keep playing it again and again and again. $75,000 a year is an additional incentive that I think changes the dynamic there, where you'll have people who maybe League is not their favorite game, but they have a propensity for MOBA strategy, and they're able to adopt and change their play style.
I don't think that this is going to then make other companies be like, well, wait, we want them playing our game. Maybe we should get on this.
Absolutely,
yes. I think it will. No. But I don't know how many other companies have the footing to do it that Riot has.
Exactly.
I mean, that's true.
Exactly. Yeah, Riot has, and because of all of the things that Callie had mentioned, because they exclusively developed for League of Legends, they have more resources available to them to keep that ball rolling, right? It's sort of like,
but I mean, they have the fighting game tournaments and stuff every year. You'd think that there would be some stake in it for the fighting game genre.
Yeah,
somewhere.
Well, I mean, you look at someone like Riot, though. They've got a $50 million deal with Major League Baseball helping them distribute and stuff like that. Like, they have so much of a strong footing. And you're right, the fighting game scene absolutely does too. But even the fighting game scene is much more grassroots than other areas of esports.
The fighting game scene is also way more fragmented.
Yeah.
Way more fragmented. You've got way more titles that have done well within the fighting game genre that are competitive, that people can choose from. And again, it comes down to a lot of times personal taste, right? Like, if you decide, if your skill set is in Mortal Kombat, the prize pots, if you can find a competitive Mortal Kombat tournament, the prize pots are going to be they're going to be what they're going to be. But the thing is this is yearly income. That's like that.
Yeah, this is guaranteed money, and that's something. In addition, if you are looking to make that jump, there is going to be a path into the pro scene. The North American Challenger Series will be reworked into a minor league system called the Academy Series. Each LCS team will be able to field a team used to recruit and develop new players to bring into the league. So it's basically
so they do have a development system.
There is a development system. Basically, right now, the Challenger Series would basically be whoever wins that gets to try to play into the main scene through the relegation tournament. That is now being stripped out. It's being called the Academy Series, and each team that is in there will be the minor league system of one of the pro scene teams.
Interesting.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's cool that they're going to have some kind of feeder system.
Exactly. In addition, they're now adding in revenue sharing. So if Riot makes a deal with a media company like the one they made with Major League Baseball, they'll be divvying up profits that goes to the teams in their league. 32.5% of league revenues will go to the teams, half of it being divided up evenly, and the other half being split based on how well the teams finished in that season.
This all sounds so good.
Beyond that, kind of a quid pro quo thing there. On the other hand, teams will now be required to share a portion of their merchandise sales profits with the league. So it's a sharing system.
Yeah.
I like it.
It makes sense.
It makes sense. I mean, that's what the NFL does.
Yeah. I think Riot stands to gain a whole lot from this.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Because merchandise sales are about to go through the roof. Because when there's 10 teams in your league and they're not changing every year, I feel much more comfortable buying a jersey if I know that the team's not going to be gone next season because they got booted out in relegation.
That's a great point.
Right. And once this whole system works too, that now provides a framework or a ground plan for any other esport out there that wants to try and adopt a similar model. I mean, a lot of this sounds like the direction that Blizzard was starting to go. And obviously it's going to be a little bit harder for individual-based games such as like the fighting game community. But I don't see how the esports as a whole doesn't benefit from this working out.
Well, totally, yeah. Because as we were going to say earlier, Nika, I think that this pushes other leagues in this same direction. Like, if you're League of Legends, you're really setting the tone there. You're setting the tone for any other leagues that are financially successful and financially viable to need to do the same thing, if for no other reason than to keep talent involved. Because
you're saying adapt or survive.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly it. And you know what? We've been saying this for a long time on Checkpoint and on Final Encountercast, that the protections for players need to be built into the system. They have to be there, because if you have a system that constantly exploits its talent, you see a drain of talent. You see, you see people who will go and find the systems that are more fair.
Yep.
If that means dropping the game that they really like, they'll do it if they think that that's their means to survive.
And another thing to point out, because some people are concerned that 10 million will be too high of a price point. With relegation gone, long-term sponsorships are going to become way more viable. A company like Red Bull, I can look at a 5-year investment in a team that's going to be in this league because I know they're not going to get booted out in 5 years.
It's a good point.
Like right now, like if you're like one of those teams like Envious or someone like that in league, or you're a bottom feeder.
Yeah,
getting a sponsorship is real hard because you could be gone at the end of any season.
Yeah. It's very true. I mean, you've got to consider that every logo that appears on each one of those jerseys, they have fought tooth and nail to get that logo on there and to be able to get that sponsorship money. It's a tough game, man.
It is.
Finding sponsors is a tough game because
Don't we know it?
you've really got to make a compelling pitch for why you think your shit is worth investing in.
Mm-hmm. And at this point, you'll be able to say, I'm in the NALCS league. Like, what do you want?
I mean, this does make it very clear. Like, this clarifies a lot of the things that were very murky about being an esports pro prior to this.
Yep. If you're coming up as an esports pro at this point, this is your goal.
This is I think
who is offering something better at this point?
Absolutely,
no one.
Absolutely.
If you're a StarCraft pro, you can make more money winning tournaments if you're the best. But that's it. Outside of that, no, this is your goal. And the idea of $75,000 to $140,000, an additional bonus for winning,
yeah.
That's big money.
Yeah, and obviously as this gets more and more successful, like you said, if the league brings in more money, the players are making more money. So on a longer scale, you're making more and more as well. And that's on top of if you're good enough, like Faker level or whatever, where they're giving you an actual contract yourself.
Well, exactly, because a lot of players you're not going to be able to sign people at the baseline. You might be able to get your newbies, but if you have Faker on your team, you think he's signing for the baseline?
$75,000 a year.
He's signing for $250,000 minimum.
Right.
Yeah,
and that's the other thing is that it is going to drive. Is there an upper cap on salaries? Did they
haven't come out with one yet?
They don't have one.
There may I'm sure there will be one, but they haven't come out with one yet.
Oh, I mean, we may start to see some bloating salaries.
Salary cap.
We may. Well, I mean,
yeah, no, I agree.
It has been proven that that's been necessary in other sports fields.
Absolutely. Look at Major League Baseball today.
Exactly.
The salaries are still a mess.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
So I mean, you might want to. I don't know. It may behoove them to kind of iron all of that out.
Right. I mean, we still have tons of details that we're waiting on for how everything will work. I'm still waiting to find out, which teams are going to be in it. But just the fact that they have this framework and it's good. Like, I read through it and I'm like, I thought I'd be like, when I knew this announcement was coming, we just didn't know when.
Right.
I was going to say,
because we covered the China
with LCK.
Yeah.
Right. So we knew this was going to happen. But I was sat there thinking, like, there's going to be a bunch of things I'm going to be pissed about and a bunch of things I'm going to be happy about. And I read through this, I'm like, I'm having a hard time coming up with downsides. This is well designed. This is good. And they listen, and the reason it's good is because they listen to a lot of the requests of their teams when designing it.
Yeah.
So good on you guys, Riot. Nailed it.
I mean, this alone, look, I've played League of Legends, not really my thing, right?
Sure.
And I've never really been, much for watching it or getting established to a team, but something like this, like you said, it's pretty much carbon copy, setting it up like it's the NFL. This is something that is going to be very easy for people to follow. So, well, you said that League of Legends is probably where it's at as far as growth goes.
I don't think it's going to grow a ton more.
I think that there's room for it.
Its pro scene may grow more. I think it's at 100 million players. I don't think.
Okay.
I think.
Here's where it has room to grow. Children, kids, little kids. I mean, little kids. You know what I mean? The Hulkamaniacs. I know that I keep drawing weird parallels to wrestling, but when you are reaching out to a fan base that young, because most of those economic decisions are driven by the parents. The parents are the ones that are spending the money. That is a highly, highly, highly marketable demographic. And being that it's attached to video games,
free to play video game,
the connection is right there.
And being free to play is also just another humongous advantage for them.
That too.
I think you're right. Like, there probably is still room to grow. I didn't consider the next generation coming in.
That's what I'm saying.
You don't have too many esports that go generational.
Well, not just that, but I mean, like, until it's such a mainstream thing that you've got kids coming up to you and telling you who their favorite esports athlete is. You know what I mean? Like, I'm talking like that kind of mainstream acceptance. And again, I feel like that's a generational thing, right? Like,
definitely.
We brought video games, our generations brought video games into the mainstream where, we have talk shows about it, and Hollywood knows that we want to see movies based off video games, but they just don't know how to do it. Like those types of things. Like, we are a targetable demographic, but I think that there's got to be another wave of this where even folks our age look at esports athletes and we're like, there's like a little bit of that short circuiting that goes on where even if you are a fan of esports, and even if you believe hook, line, and sinker in the fact that it is competitive and that it is compelling and that it is fun to watch, there is that short circuit that goes, they're not athletes, and you go, but no,
but they are.
You
had it on Checkpoint when we talked about Vainglory, the mobile MOBA, where you were just like, that can't be a thing,
right?
But someone growing up today is like, no, it's absolutely
no, that's absolutely, of course. Why would it not be a thing?
Exactly,
and that's I think what you need is that total acceptance of, like, why would this even be a question of, like, whether this guy is an athlete or not? That's a dumb premise. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And that, I think, is much more a generational thing and something that comes along with both time and age and evolution. Like, that's not something that just through enthusiasm we can make happen. And I think that that's a really interesting thing to watch form out of this sort of like, primordial ooze that is esports right now.
Think about, like, this is what has always impressed me about League is that Riot didn't have really a game before it. They were out of nowhere, and within a couple of years they were up to 10 million people, then 20, then 40, now 100 million people on the back of nothing really. Just a free-to-play mobile game that they made. And that's just, it blows my mind when I think about like how far it's come, and now it's on the precipice. Yeah, and now it's on the precipice of setting the standard for esports.
Well, and again, but there you see another sort of shift in generational thinking there, because for a long time anyone playing video games saw free to play and they were like, that's automatically shit.
Yep.
It's automatically shit. And I think it was younger gamers that hadn't accepted that idea.
They have to see what, because our first introduction to free to play was pay to win.
Right.
It was always pay to win. There was
That
always
is
that
true.
garbage attached to it. But when younger gamers started seeing free to play games, they had gotten past that pay to win thing a bit. They started seeing things that were it was just balanced.
Well, not just that, but when you're younger gamers and when everything costs money, when you see a free to play, that's a free game. You have to at least try it out because you don't have the money to shell out for $60 to play something.
I remember when I was like super broke in college, where I was downloading free MMOs like every other weekend. And that's and I
gotta find one that's good. Spoilers, they're all bad.
Yeah, none of them are good. That's the actual
I tried
secret.
a couple of random Korean ones in college, and I was like, these are weird.
Maple Story, anyone?
I remember Maple Story.
Be ashamed. Is different.
Be ashamed.
Is it?
Maple Story was like a forum RPG. And
that's where it started, but I think it started.
That's
on the
different
forums.
than like the random free Korean MMOs you could download.
Yeah, Maple Story started like the same way that like Gaia Online was. Started like that kind of era.
Maple Story and Gaia both still exist, don't they?
I want to say that they do.
Yeah,
I want to say that they do. Yeah. And yeah, like I downloaded. I don't even remember any of those games, but like I'm sure it was something named like Jade Empire or
that's an actual game.
An actual game.
Is it?
Yeah, it's a Bioware game for Xbox.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yours was Gray Empire.
Gray. I'm just trying to think of cliched names that
absolutely.
Oh my god! I mean, because I downloaded so many of them, and I played a lot of free to play MMOs.
Juxta says Ragnarok Online.
Ragnarok Online was another one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Ragnarok was the first MMO I tried, and I got confused, and I quit.
It was with its terrible isometric graphics. Yeah, I remember Ragnarok. And so like. Yeah, I hopefully the only thing that I could see really impacting Riot at this point, or League, or any of the things that they're attempting to do with it, is if the bottom falls out of the MOBA genre, and people just are like, I don't really care what's going on in MOBAs.
Leaving it. Yeah, you're right. But outside of that, I think they put themselves in a good spot. They're in as good a spot as they can be, I think.
Yeah,
like if that happens, then it's just kind of down to like, well, them's the breaks. It's not like, well, you guys set yourself up for this. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I definitely agree. And I don't know. We're going to be keeping an eye on it as it continues to develop, both here and on Checkpoint. I'm sure that we'll end up talking about this on Checkpoint.
I think so.
Look forward to the FEC or the CPR World Championship League of Legends party that we throw.
I don't know.
I'd be in a viewing party for Worlds this year. That's not a terrible idea.
Can we start Fantasy League of Legend?
That already exists.
That is a thing. Yeah, fantasy esports is a thing. No, I think like if we could do like a watching party at like Insert Coins or something.
Yeah, viewing party for
Ready Player One.
I'm sure they'll already have one, but if they don't, maybe that wouldn't be a bad idea. It'd be October.
Okay. Anyway, all right, guys. I think that's going to do it here for Final Encountercast. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. No calls today. That's a little disappointing. I wanted someone to call and yell at me about last week's rant. No one wanted to take that bait.
I thought your rant was fairly justified, wasn't it?
I thought it was too, but apparently a couple of people heard only the part where I said MAGA hats, and that's the only thing that they could latch onto.
Okay. Are those couple people YouTube commenters?
I was gonna say
probably.
Well, that's why they didn't call.
That's true. Yeah,
what are you hoping
don't
for?
have the fucking balls.
This is it. This is the same thing you do with Square-Enix. You keep being disappointed because you let them disappoint you. Just expect the worst.
That may be true.
Anyway, we'll see you for LBR.
Yeah. Anyway, stick around. Limit Break Radio is coming up next at 4 p.m. And it's going to be an epic conversation. We only got through half of our planned show last time because we
and
had
there's so much more this week, too.
Yeah, there really is. Because we had so many people calling in to talk about their reactions to the producer live letter. This week, we've got the embargo lifted from the media tour. So we're going to be talking all about people's first-hand impressions on getting their mitts on Stormblood.
But not our own.
And I think we're even going to be joined by a special guest over on Limit Break Radio. So stick around. That's coming up next at 4 p.m. If you're listening on the podcast, comes out Tuesday over at limitbreakradio.com. All right, that's going to do it here for Final Encountercast. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. It's Sunday, and that means that if you're a Twin Peaks fan, a new episode of Twin Peaks is tonight. I am so excited for Twin Peaks. Like, if you're not watching Twin Peaks, I'm going to just go ahead and give my own personal little plug. If you want to watch the most interesting hour of television, you need to watch Twin Peaks. Go back, watch the entire series. You can do it in a day. That's available at Netflix and Hulu. But do it. It's worth it. It's worth watching. Anyway, guys, that's going to do it for Final Encountercast. Thanks so much for joining us. I want to thank my crew, Kooky Persona, who's been hanging out, taking calls, Skuro, who takes care of our YouTube videos, as well as my crew, Nika Kayanian, Callie Sloan, you, and me. I'm out of here.
What about Chris?
He's not here.
Fuck him. Final Encountercast is a production of FinalEncountercast.com, Limit Break Radio, and Bender Media Productions. Today's episode was produced by Kooky Persona and Callie Sloan. This show is made possible by the generous Patreon donors of the podcast Limit Break Radio. Opening music provided by Keyboard Kid. More info and music can be found at keyboardkid206.bandcamp.com. Closing music provided by Sobsy. More info at sobsy.bandcamp.com. Final Encountercast and its hosts are solely responsible for its content.